And on to an even bigger loss some people face, their homes. Last month, we met residents who were forced out at a very short notice after being served prohibition notices. These can cause so many problems for people, don't they, Matt?
Oh, I'm back.
Yeah. I genuinely thought we were saying goodbye to you. That's my bad. It's lovely to see you again,
Well,
Matt.
you can't get rid of me that easily.
Well, you see him tomorrow, but now you see him now.
Prohibition notices. When I was making a programme called Housing Enforcers a few years ago, prohibition notices were the very, very last resort where people were living in just unthinkable conditions. The council would come in and say, you have to leave now. Since Grenfell, that has changed, and because of the situation with dangerous cladding, now we're seeing prohibition notices on buildings which, on first appearances, look perfectly acceptable to live in. And the disruption they cause to people's lives is untold, honestly. They have to find somewhere new to live, sometimes within a matter of days or even hours. So a prohibition notice on your place of living, whether you're a renter or whether you are someone who's an owner-occupier, can be a massive, massive problem.
It's been a horrendous situation for so many. Presenter Zoe Harmon has been meeting even more people struggling to live with the impact of this, as well as getting an update on those we spoke to before.
Back in July, I came here to Kirby in Merseyside to meet Aruni Leasiri, who'd just been forced to move out of her home.
I was having meltdown every other day, especially after this letter came, because I've never been in this situation. What do you expect me to do?
Aruni and her neighbours here were served something called a prohibition notice, which tells residents their homes are unsafe to live in and they have to move out immediately.
Aruni owns her flat on a lease, but the local authority have moved her to a temporary council flat, which she's now renting from a housing association.
Last time we caught up, you were still in your flat. What's been going on since then?
I moved here end of July, as you can see here, still work in progress, but at least I got somewhere to be.
How stressful has it been for you?
It was very, very stressful. Just last week, I slept in my own bed. First time in 3 months.
The flat is a temporary measure and needs decorating to make it feel like home. It's costing Aruni £500 a month on top of the £300 a month she pays for her own flat. Aruni has also had to pay for storage of her belongings. Some furniture was too big to move out of her old flat, and some kitchen appliances were integrated, so the costs have kept coming.
So I have to buy in new fridge, buy in a new cooker, and eventually redo this kitchen in order for it to be fully functional on top of the day-to-day running costs.
Have they given you any indication on how long you'll be staying here for?
I think given the situation with the other building, my own flat, I don't know how long it's going to take for anyone to do anything.
How does that make you feel?
It's a long, long process. When financially, I don't want to invest into a place where I don't even own. I'm hopeful that some progress will come in the future.
But whilst she settles into her temporary new home, Aruni is still left with the burden of paying for her old flat, a property that she can't even access. Since the Grenfell Tower fire of 2017, over 14,000 people have been served a prohibition notice. Residents have been moved out for a range of issues, from cracks in walls to ventilation systems not working and combustible materials putting buildings at risk of fire. In 2020, the block of flats Josh Morris lived in received a safety rating that made the flats unsaleable. Too many fire safety defects were found, which meant the risk of fire spreading was very high.
We've been fighting for years trying to get the building remediated. All through that time we've been told there's nothing wrong with the building, you'd be fine, there's none of the dangerous cladding on the building, you can still continue to live there. We were allowed to live there in what was basically a death trap.
3 years later, he was on his way home from work when a prohibition notice was served, giving him 14 days to leave the building before it was locked up. Josh was moved into a temporary flat just down the road from the one he'd lived in for 12 years.
How does it feel being so close to your old home?
I can't even go out on that terrace and have a look at it sometimes because I feel You're really angry and upset just thinking about it.
But your temporary flat has actually been your home for 2 years.
Yeah, I was told about 6 to 10 months would be maximum time that I'd be here. This is the whole thing. Your life is put on hold. You just think this isn't fair, you know.
Heartbreaking. What have the last few years been like for you?
It's not been easy. My health has taken a battering, but as well as that, I just can't move on. You know, I can't sell the flat. I'm stuck with it. I continue to pay my mortgage and I can't legally visit now. It's completely sealed now. I still pay just under £200 a month for management fees.
For a flat that is deemed unsafe.
I can't legally live in. You know, I'm 50-year-old and, you know, I'm now in rented accommodation and officially, you know, homeless.
Yeah, not what you dreamed of.
Definitely not.
No.
After having no progress for 2 years, there's now a glimmer of hope for Josh. The government agency Homes England has now agreed to step in and start remedial work, starting by replacing all the outside doors and windows.
For me to be able to move on, the only way I can do that is for them to fix the building. So fix the building, you know, get it done properly and do it as quickly as possible.
In 2022, the government brought in the Building Safety Act to make developers and building landlords pay for the cost to make blocks of flats safe. I'm meeting cladding campaigner Giles Grover to find out if this law can help Aruni and Josh.
Giles, how does this law help leaseholders?
So the law changed 3 years ago. The difficulty is that it's just too complicated. It protects some leaseholders in some buildings of some heights with some fire safety risks. There's not really a consistent, simple, holistic approach to fixing these buildings that has leaseholders and residents at the heart. It's all too complicated. Developers and freeholders are arguing and no one's really saying, right, get on with it. Fix these buildings, people's homes, so people can move back in.
Is this situation getting worse?
Yeah, we've seen a sharp increase in decants, you know, people losing their homes over the last couple of years. There's 5,200 or so buildings being monitored by the government. So all these issues, all these disputes are just going to carry on. More and more people are going to lose their homes.
Do you have any advice for leaseholders who are grappling with costs that they've incurred since they've been forced out of their homes?
Yeah, so the government did actually change the law last year to say that you can recover those alternative accommodation costs if they're related to building safety grounds. However, really complicated law. It's going to cost a lot to do that. So I'd say go to the council. They can be the ones providing the accommodation and they can then recover that, hopefully with government support, to get that money back for the council and the leaseholders. You can get independent legal advice from the leasehold advisory service as well.
For the people I've met today, the fact that more protections are in place for leaseholders isn't a huge amount of comfort, because the reality on the ground is often extremely complex. Things aren't moving fast enough for them, if they're moving at all, which means their lives are in limbo through no fault of their own.
Yeah, it's complicated, but the effect it's had on so many people, like we're talking about Josh there. Hopefully there is light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to Josh's situation. Wallace Estates Limited, which owns Josh's building, says it's not responsible for the defects, but has addressed fire safety since 2021, paid relocation costs following major defects found in 2023, cut service charges and waived ground rent.
It says most residents support its actions. The company submitted a remediation plan to the building safety regulator in November 2024 and shares residents' frustration over the wait for approval. Now approved, work is set to begin.
The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government said people like Josh and Aruni deserve a safe and secure home quickly. While it called the delays unacceptable, it confirmed work is starting at Skyline Chambers and is monitoring Aruni's building. It said its remediation action plan aims to ensure landlords protect residents and fix buildings without delay.
Yes.